Good evening, good evening. I'm Dr. Cassandra Washington, and welcome to Life Enhancement and Development Live. I'm your host this evening, and we have a great conversation in store for you tonight. I have my favorite transformation coach with me tonight. How you doing, Bernadette?
I am doing awesome. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's been a long time, but we are back and we are here tonight. And we're going to have a great conversation about something I think is so important. You know, we often talk about renewing the mind. And this topic for discussion tonight is so key to renewing the mind. I just feel like if you don't get this, then you don't have a good foundation for your life. And tonight, we're going to talk about your identity. Will the real person stand up? And I had to bring the transformation coach on with me tonight so that she can help us break down and become aware of our identity, what this is all about, why it is important. You know, Bernadette, when I was thinking about this topic, I thought about my mind went back to a point in my life when really went through a mental challenge.
Mm,
And I it made me question everything about myself. It even
yes.
caused me to be stunted in certain areas of my life. And I did you ever watch Lion King, the first one?
Yes. I watched every
That
Lion King.
that was one of the best movies I
Yes.
have ever watched. There were so many principles, and I watched that movie over and over. But one of the main principles that I got and what really helped me at that point in my life was when Simba was living with the meerkat and the warhog, and he was a lion. He was next in line to be king. And because of some
Hmm.
things that happened, he ran away from everything that was to take him to where he needed to be. And here he was living very much beneath who he was supposed to
Yes.
be. And then it was the monkey who took him and helped him. And you know, when he saw his reflection in the water, his father told him, he said, Simba, you are more than what you have become. And
Wow.
I said, oh my God, you are
Wow.
more than what you have become. He lost
Wow.
his identity. And it resonated
Yes.
with me so much because I was in sort of the same situation or the same predicament. I had lost my
Mm,
identity and I had become someone else.
yes.
And you know, I remember you remember when I told you about Zarika, when Zarika came to see me and she said, Auntie, who are your friends? Who
Yes,
are
I remember.
that they will allow you to settle for this? And you know, I was like,
Wow.
it was just all those little things coming to me throughout that
Yes.
time to let me know you are more than what you have become. Why have you settled for this? So this is a topic that is so important to me and dear to my heart. And so I'm so excited for you to break this down as a transformation coach. I believe something can be said and some strategies can be given to help somebody. And so we want to get right into it. And I want you to start by, you know, talking about identity and what that is. Break it down for us.
So, first of all, I want to say I love that. I have to use that now that you are more. You have not even become who you are. You've lost it. Okay, I'm gonna steal that. I want you to know that. So I'm telling you up front, you are more than what you have become. So when you hear me using that, you be like, Bernadette stole my stuff. So I'm telling you. So I'm gonna
Well,
borrow that. How about that?
I got it from Lion King. You are
Okay, so we can
more.
share. We can share.
We can
All right,
share.
then. Okay, so your identity. So when you and I started discussing this and talking about this, I've been excited ever since you even mentioned it. Your identity, because I really started thinking about, what is my identity? My identity, when I hear the word identity, is the core of who I am. this is who I am. So when you hear people say that, whether they're doing something crazy or something good, they say this is just who I am. And sometimes that's really not just who they are, but they use that. But when we're talking about our identity, that really is who I am, down to the pit of everything about me. This is my characteristic. This who I am, how I behave. This is how I act. This is my identity. This is how I identify. And we're not talking about genders in this sense. We're talking about, it is the core of my very being. That's my identity.
It's everything. It says everything about who it causes you to be recognized mentally,
Yes.
physically, socially,
Yes.
every part of you. And so sometimes I even think that some parts can be okay. You can be okay, you may be okay physically, but mentally you're not,
Absolutely.
you're not there. And that's the core. That's really the, as we were talking, you stated that is the root of it, the mindset,
The
how you
mindset.
talk, your values, your belief, your character, how you think. So where do you think it start though? The shaping of who we are, our identity, because uh sometimes where we are, the shaping of our identity can mislead us depending on who
Yes.
we allow to do the shaping.
Exactly. So your identity started in childhood. It started with who you, from the time that you were born. Your identity started from your family, your friends, who you went to school with, all of these things. Like you said, even in your young adulthood, it took you off your path. You start identifying with someone totally different, a characteristic that wasn't even your character, but because you were in a setting, or you met a person, or all those people, co-workers, all these different things that, and people we come in contact with, affect our lives. So our identity starts in childhood. When you were born, your identity starts. So when you think about it, you have so much in common with your sisters and your brothers, your aunties, all of these people. You can remember things that your aunt said to you, your cousin said to you, the person across the street. All those things affected who you became.
That's right. That's right. And I just think about, we had the like you said, school, we had the
Mm-hmm.
church world, we had our family, our
Yes,
home, we had our peers and our friends. And each one of those areas we were getting different things. And something that you and I often talk about is, as young adults, as children, we as parents need to make sure that they know who they are
absolutely.
before they go out into the world. Because if you don't, you got somebody that's ready to tell you who they think you should be.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
we meet all of these influences. And so why do you think it's important that we know? You got to know that you know that you know who you are.
If you don't know who you are, it's going to change your beliefs. Like you said, you'll meet somebody who will totally change your value. You'll be doing things and you're like, I don't even know why I do these things, because you lost your value. You lost your belief systems. It'll change what you're motivated about. I've met women in my life before who were go-getters and, just excited about life. And all of a sudden they started dating someone, and we're asked the question, well, what happened to you? Well, they got with someone and it changed their beliefs. It changed their value decision. It changed how they made decisions. You've met those women where, we could go places, we could do things. And all of a sudden now it's, well, I can't. I got to ask somebody. And I'm not talking about your traditional, hey, I'm going to let my husband know I'm going here. I'm talking about that where you don't know how to get up and pay a bill. Well, and then that spouse died and he was like, I don't even know how to pay a bill. I don't even know where the car is. I don't know any of that. But somewhere in your 20s and you're 19, your parents taught you how to do these things, but you met up with someone and you lost how to make just basic decisions. I've seen people who don't make decisions about how they wear their hair or why they dress the way they dress. Well, I like to dress this way, but my spouse or my husband or my wife like me to dress this way. But are you happy with that, with the way you dress? Are you happy with wearing your hair like that? Because, as you know, I've met with so many people and going through just what we we're talking about, where they've lost their identity. And when I ask the question where, you know, what do you like to wear? How do you like to dress? Or I tell them, hey, go to a high-end store and purchase something expensive. And they said, well, I can't. That takes me too far out of my comfort zone. It's like, well, why did you think you can only wear clothing that have no quality? And just as we were saying, she said, I always wore these clothes. I only shopped at Cato's. I only shopped at TJ Maxx. I only shopped at Ross. So when we're talking about a high-end boutique, it doesn't make sense. That fear immediately kicks in. You know, if you don't know yourself, you won't put yourself in healthy relationships. You'll be in unhealthy relationships. And I think one of the biggest things, Cassandra, if you don't know yourself, you will always be stressed out, because you always trying to please someone else, because you don't know who you are. Because when you know who you are, you say, no, I'm not doing that today. You set boundaries for yourself. But if you don't know who you are, you become a yes person without even trying to become a yes person. It's just what you do. It's who you become without even thinking about it, because you have lost yourself. You don't know who you are.
And you become you allow yourself to be influenced by
Exactly.
someone else's opinion or
Absolutely.
decision for your life. I've talked to I was talking to a young lady when a few years ago, and she was working on a degree, and she was from another country, and in that particular country, in that particular area, they chose your spouse.
Yes.
They chose who you married, and so she had to take on this identity and this role that her parents set for her. You even have some children that in some cultures they tell you what you're going to major in. You either
Yes.
going to be a doctor, a lawyer. You're going to have some high paying position, a job that's going to be prestigious
Okay. It
and
looked
allow
like
you to make
precision.
money.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it is these people in our lives that we value, that we will let them tell us our value. And I guess the question is, where should we get our value and our self-worth? Who determines that? Who should we let determine that?
You got stuck a little bit, so could you repeat that question for me?
When we Who do we where should we get our value? What our value and our self-worth, where does that come from, or where should it come from?
Well, you made some great points. I have known family members who don't know when to cut off the point. You know, you have those mothers, you have those fathers who don't allow their children to mature and grow up. And so, yes, they tell them what they need to major in. They tell them where they need to live. They tell them when it's time to leave, move out of the house, or why they should move out of the house. So I'm seeing that now, even with my daughter. My daughter will have some conversations with me, and I've had friends and coworkers and family members, all of that, with the same thing. So you definitely should be listening to someone who has your best interest. But even with listening to someone that have your best interest, you also have to remind them, okay, I'm an adult now. And you don't have to say it in a bad way, but we all have to be allowed to be an adult and make decisions. So if you're moving out at 20 and 21, yes, you're going to make some 20 and 21 mistakes. We made 20 and 21 mistakes. You're going to
Right.
make some 30-year-old mistakes. So you need to have someone who you trust and who has your best interest. But sometimes, our parents love us and we can trust them. Our pastors love us and we can trust them. But sometimes they're holding on too tight because they know what's out there. But even with knowing what's out there, we still have to be allowed to get out there and make our mistakes, or learn our own value. So I would say to a young person, when it's time to get out there and you're feeling like, okay, now I'm ready to live in another state, or now I'm ready to live in another country, or get my own place, sit down and have a conversation with that loved one, or that mother, father, spouse, or whoever. The biggest problem that we have is we speak when we're angry. We got to find time to have those conversations with those trusted people when we're all in a good place. That's what I would say.
Mhm. Yes. Now you said something that I think that was key. Uh, you said something that was key to becoming this person,
Yes.
coming into your own, coming
Yes.
into you who you are, a confident person, a bold person, a courageous person, a person who knows what they want. And
Absolutely.
you said that our mentality and our mindset must change. At some point, you must grow up in your decision making. I thought that was so key. You must
Yeah.
grow up in your decision making. What is it that you want the person to understand when you make those statements? That you must grow up in your decision making.
So when I say grow up in your decision making, one of the main things is taking responsibility. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't make a decision and then blame someone else. You know, I've
Mm-hmm.
met those people who said, "Well, I did that because you told me to do." I didn't tell you to do anything. We were having a conversation, and so in this conversation, you did maybe what I said. Hey, this is how I would handle it. So I don't directly tell anyone to do anything. Now, if I'm counseling with you, I want you to come in and we're going to talk through it. But the biggest thing that you have to do when I say grow up in your decision making, number one, take responsibility for every action that you take. Even if it doesn't work out, say, hey, at least I tried. It didn't work out. I went down that road. It didn't work out. And the other thing is in your decision making, think about how this is going to affect you long term. I shouldn't be making the same decision at 50 something years old that I was making at 20 years old, because at 20, I wasn't worried about how that was going to affect me at 25. I was worried about just being 20. So now that I'm 55, I should be thinking about, okay, this is going to affect me 6 months or a year, 10 years from now. Make sure that you now have values. You know, at 20, we may not have had so many values. We didn't have priorities and all these kind of things. You have to set some priorities. You need to set some values and learn from your experience. We hear the term that you should be, I learned from that experience, or you're learning from your experience. Well, everybody doesn't learn from their experience, because if
Mm-hmm.
you learn from your experience, you wouldn't be repeating the same thing over and over. And I myself have not always learned from every experience. I've had to repeat a few things and be like, okay, stop, don't do that, because you know where this is going. Don't have that conversation. And so now I've mastered even personality and characters. When I meet people, I was like, no, I know that character right there. That is not a good
Yeah.
fit for me. Over controlling people, not a good fit for me, because that's in me to a whole, that's a different place. I've dealt with over controlling personalities and characters, and so I can, as they said, recognize them a mile away. I go the other direction, and so, and that's what we should be getting to. We got to mature in our decision making. We know what type of jobs we don't want to work on anymore. So, and you now should be mature enough to say, I don't want to do that anymore. I remember starting off in healthcare. I did medical billing and coding and collections. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I don't enjoy that anymore. So when people come and say, hey, you missing out on the good job, my identity say that's not a good job for me anymore. So I'm not missing out on anything. So that's when we're talking about maturing in your decision making. Stand on the decision that you make. When you make a decision, stand on that decision.
And know yourself and know who you are and know what you want, and let that be good with it, whether somebody else is good with it or not.
And be good with it. And you know what? You said something key right there. And be good with it. I think that we lose being good with it with our decision is, in order for us to start being able to make the good decision, we're gonna go back to the beginning of your identity. Do you know who you are? And do you
Mhm.
like who you are? First of all,
That's a
do
good
you even
question.
like who you are? Because if you don't like who you are, then you're going to always make bad decisions, because what's coming is coming from a bad place, because you don't even like who you are. I know we don't like some days we have bad hair days, I had to
Uh-huh.
adjust. Okay, I got a big forehead. It ain't going nowhere. It's here. I got it. Can't take it away. And I remember years trying to wear, long hair or whatever. I was glad my hair was long at the time, trying to cover up this big forehead, but it is what it is. After a while, I was like, you know what? It's all right. I grew
It's
into it.
all
It's
right.
okay.
Exactly. And Jamie says decision making starts with your state of mind. And that is
Yes.
so true. And what about those persons, Bernadette, who have arrested development? They can make, you
Yeah.
got a 50-year-old person. still got to call everybody. Hey, what do you think I should do? What, don't know how to make decisions, don't know what they want, don't know which way to go, don't even know what to do. If you have a decision to make, don't
And
even know,
usually,
they
yeah,
call other people to get other people's opinion and advice.
opinions about it. When I see that happen, Cassandra, something has happened to that person. And that's usually my question. What happened to you? Because when we're fearless as children, we will try and we will do anything. When you get to the point that you are fearful and you doubt everything that you are doing, someone, as we said, in your circle has told you that you're bad at this, you're bad at making decisions, and you now have made that a part of your life. You know what? I am bad at making decisions. I would tell people, I don't even know how I got around without a GPS, because I know my truth. I was like, you know what? I'm bad at directions. And I had to stop saying I'm bad at directions. My husband might come in here and say something. I'm still bad. But Cassandra, I was really bad at directions, but I had to change my wording. And so my wording became, I have some directional challenges. So when I'm driving, you might need to tell me the house, drive 2 streets. And when you see the red bar, make a right, or give me street names. Because other than that, just saying go longitude and latitude, no. Don't tell me go down the street 3 miles. And I don't even know I don't know how far 3 miles is. I don't know that. I can't. No, I'm going to need some street names. I'm going to need some landmarks. And so, but at the same time, even knowing that I have some directional challenges, you're not going to tell me, oh, you bad with directions, because then you take that on. Well, if I'm bad at street directions, I'm bad at following directions. And usually that's what happens. Once you inherit and take on one negative thing, all of a sudden all these other negative things come in. Well, I'm bad at painting. I'm bad at writing. I'm bad. So that person, or those people that now have those complexes, I guarantee you something happened along the way, and then that ball just grew and grew and grew, and now it's a big old mountain, and they can't make any decisions because they're afraid that whatever decision I make going to be wrong, or it's gonna mess up because they've made some bad decisions. But if they really step back and say, hey, who haven't made bad decisions? We've all made bad decisions, but we learn from those decisions. But instead of them learning from those decisions, they started going to other people, thinking other people were more intelligent or smarter than they were. And the people that was acting like they were more intelligent probably made them feel less than a person. And so that just is an ongoing thing now. So now they don't trust themselves at all.
And when they make a mistake, people beat them up and they beat themselves up. And that causes them to become stuck. Ira said, get rid of pride and accept the fact that you will make mistakes. Mm-hmm. Step back and say, I made this mistake. Now what I'm going to do about it? You can't stay still, and you sure can't go backward. That's right, Ira.
Exactly. Ira, she made a good point, because, Cassandra, you and I know so many people who have had children out of wedlock, especially during our, in our young age of 19 and 20. If they had a child and out of wedlock, your name was just mud. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it was now, where everybody embrace you and we're here and we're going to support and all this kind of stuff. You got kicked out the club. Okay. If you had a child and you were not married, you got kicked out the club. Especially in the Christian world. And I'm not, speaking against the Christian world in that sense. I'm just saying that was the thing at that time, that you weren't embraced. And so a lot of those people even now still have complexes from that. And how they haven't got over, they tell the story over and over and over, because deep down somewhere there's some hurt that they haven't dealt with. And so they said, they're still dealing with that hurt. And so even when their other decision, or when they make another mistake, they take on, I always make mistakes. They always say I make mistakes, and so that's why they repeat that. And I know I tell my clients, don't say that. You don't always make mistakes. You don't always make mistakes. Do not use that word, that I always. And I know we've talked about this before, Cassandra, but our words are so key. Our words is everything. How we speak and what we say. Don't call yourself dumb. I've heard people say, I'm just dumb. I'm just stupid. You're not dumb and you're not stupid. But if you speak those words out loud and you say them long enough, guess what? That's how you're going to act. that's how you're going to think, and that's how you're going to behave. Because sometimes we are our worst critics. I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I always make mistakes. Don't say that to yourself. You got to change what the words that you speak to yourself.
Yes, because you become that.
Exactly.
You become exactly what you say. Rose the farmer said, get up and move forward. That is so
Absolutely.
true. And we don't have to be what someone try to be like everybody else and be what someone else wants us to be.
Exactly.
We are fearfully and wonderfully made, and who I am does not come from other is not based. We us being believers and Christians, we get our purpose and our identity from him, from God. He tells us who we are. He gives us gifts and can tell us what we're supposed to do. And if someone comes to you and say, oh, you think you can be that? What makes you think you can do that? What make you think? No? And a lot of times we shrink back.
Absolutely.
We will shrink from who we really want to be and who we really know we should be, because we don't want someone to criticize us.
Absolutely. That's number one. I don't want to be criticized. Or either I want everybody to like me. Everybody's not going to like you.
No, and you can still do what people want you to do, and they still
not going to like you. Exactly. The very people that you're doing it for isn't going to like you at all.
Yes. And it's just a control thing too.
Absolutely.
We allow people to control us. We allow people to stunt us, and then we internalize these other people's their fears,
exactly,
their thoughts, and we internalize it and make it ours. Well, if you don't like who I am, you take that up with somebody else.
Absolutely.
That's not my problem. That's not my problem. That's your problem, not mine.
I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. You ain't got to tell me. I'm good. Don't tell me. I have no need to know at all.
Right. So, who cares? Who cares? Iris said, your perception of me don't make me who I am. That's right.
Good word. Right. Good word. Absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes you may lose friends, so-called friends. Absolutely. You may have to change your environment.
Absolutely.
You may have to change it, because once you become, and I think the important thing, Bernadette, is to become aware that we have lost ourselves. Because I had to become aware that I had lost myself.
Exactly.
And it took some nudging. In the movie The Lion King, the monkey had to hit Simba over the head.
How many times you got to be hit over the head before you get it?
Before you get it. And he was talking about what had happened, and this in the past, and his daddy died, and he hit him on the head. He said, what you do that for? He said, doesn't matter, it's in the past.
Absolutely. I love it. It's in the past.
It's in the past. As Iris said, you have to move forward.
You have to move
forward. That happened. And my perception of challenges and things that have happened has changed so dramatically, because now I look at that as something that came to build me for where I'm going.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I no longer look at it as a negative thing that happened to me.
Absolutely.
But those things happen to prepare me for where it is that I'm going. And just because it was something bad, or it was something that didn't feel good at the time, doesn't mean that it wasn't for me. It was helping to shape me and mold me and help me to become who I'm supposed to be.
Absolutely.
To help me to be more patient. The more things that I went through that kind of, it made me more compassionate, made me a more compassionate person, made me a more mature person, made me a stronger person, because, some things I was like, oh, I never thought I would be able to handle that.
Yes. It made you not be black and white. Because I remember just being, it's either black or it's white. Now it's gray, pink, yellow, green. It's all type of colors. But I remember seeing things, it's either black or it's white. There was no in between. Now it's like, I don't care if it's gray. I see other colors. I see things. My perception changed. Just as you
Mm-hmm.
said, I matured in how I thought. I matured in my decision making. And we have to mature in not only just our decision making, how we perceive things. We shouldn't still be perceiving things that we did like at 15 and 16. Our perception at 55 and 60 should be so different. I remember my aunt, my aunt Maddie in Mississippi. I thought she was the most compassionate, comparing. I said, you just can't do no wrong in her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you did. She was gonna say, it's all right. It's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
all right. I don't you could have done broke out all the windows in her house, and her words were, it's gonna be all right. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be. And I thought, how can she be nice about everything? How is everything all right? It's gonna be all right. But that was her word. It's gonna be. I don't care what was going on. My auntie said
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be all right. I remember. I think one of her grandchildren had gotten pregnant, and she was a young girl, and she said, and I remember my auntie. She didn't yell. She didn't scream. She said, "Say what? Say who?" That was her word. She was always saying, "Say what? Who?" And then she said, but it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. That was and so when I never thought that I was gonna turn into my aunt. And so even with my sister Rosa is on here, and she and I talk sometime, and she'll call me and tell me something. And she said, I already know, Ned. I already know it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. So
And
I
that's a
turned
good way
into
to
my
see
aunt
it.
because my perception changed, and I see things so differently. I see things so peace. I see the peace in everything, and I can see how everything is going to work out. It's going to be okay. The worst thing that can happen just happened. That's how
Mm-hmm.
I see it. Everything else got to go uphill. So, and I do that in business. I do that in my relationships. I don't care what happened, Cassandra. I think it's going to be okay. And be okay doesn't mean it's going to be fixed and mended and we're going to be in a relationship. Be okay means you're going to go one way and I'm going to go another way, and it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. And I'm still gonna be all right.
And I'm going to be all right.
I'm still gonna be better. This is not gonna diminish me. It's not gonna take away from me. As a
Mm-mm.
matter of fact, I told you once before, I thank you. Thank you
Yes,
because you helped make me better. You helped make me
absolutely.
better. Calvin Norwood, hi Calvin, says the heart of God, talking about your aunt. I love people like your aunt. Yes,
Yes,
people that can say, hey, look, this happened to you. And I remember Dr. Carol said that this happened to you, but it's not you.
it's not you.
Don't let what
Absolutely.
happened to you become you. you know
Absolutely.
don't let your situation or your circumstance define you, define who
Exactly.
you are. And a lot of times that's what we do. We get caught up in what happened or what somebody said. That's what happened, and that's what they said, but that doesn't make me who I am.
Exactly. Because I remember the saying, hurt people hurt people. I said, but you don't have to. Hurt people don't have to hurt people. That's a
Right.
decision. And we have to realize we have choices, and we can make choices, and we need to make informed choices, and we need to make good choices. And it's a decision to make a good choice.
Hmm.
If you talk about me, I can go back and talk about you. But it's my decision to say I'm bigger than that. I'm better
Hmm.
than that. And that's me making a informed decision and a good decision and say, but what I can do is set you free. I can
Hmm.
set you free that we're not gonna be close. We don't stop by no more. But I can
Hmm.
set you free. But I don't have to go that route. I don't have to be negative. I don't want that bad hate and all that kind of stuff. What I've learned to do is forgive fast. And I don't want to change that about me. I want to
Hmm.
learn to forgive fast. There's a saying that, they said when even in business, be slow to hire, but be quick to fire. And that's what I've taken on. I'm real slow to hire people, very slow to hire people. I pretty much work with the same people over and over. They know my character. I know their character. I'm very slow to hire people, but I am quick to fire people. If I hire you and you don't work out, and because we've already had some conversations, and you're not getting out the bed, and you're not showing up on time, and you're not meeting my client, and you're not doing what I asked you to do, I will set you free. I'm not mad. I'm
Hmm.
not angry. But there's no need for us to prolong the relationship, But what I will do if I'm working with some young people and I'm training them, that's a little different because I'm trying to educate them on this is how you be professional. This is what we call professionalism. I don't care what everybody else in the room is doing. You represent me if you're working for me. So I don't care what they're doing. This is what I require of you. So I'm a little more lenient with the young people, but my older people, I'm not so lenient.
Ira said, oh Lord, when you say you. But it's two things I want to clarify because we're talking about, take the opinion of others. Now, we're not saying that you're not supposed to get counsel and advice. Good counsel, because the word of God tells us that we should wise counsel. You should seek out good counsel and wise counsel, but you should be able to discern and be able to evaluate that counsel to see if it's in your best interest. Is this person giving you advice and counsel to help you come to the best decision about yourself or about the situation? So we want to clarify that we're not saying that you shouldn't take advice and counsel from wise people, but we're talking about situations where somebody is trying to control you and control the situation. It's probably easy for some people to let somebody else tell them, because it takes responsibility. It takes maturity to be able to say, I want to be responsible for myself. And you made a point earlier where you said about trusting yourself.
Yes.
Do you trust yourself enough to be able to make decisions on your own and to move forward in being who you're supposed to be, or who you're created to be and want to be? Or are you shrinking back? Are you fearful, afraid that you're going to make the wrong decision, afraid that you're going to go the wrong way? So how does a person fix trusting themselves? How does a person?
Well, you said number one thing I would tell anyone is first of all, figure out where did you stop trusting yourself? At what point did you stop trusting yourself? Really sit down and say, when did I stop trusting myself? I did what I thought was right up until when? Up until maybe, your house went into foreclosure. I thought I would pay bills like this and I still lost the house. I stayed on the job and I still got fired. But they was telling me to leave the job. I stayed on the job and I still got fired. They was telling me stop coming in early. I came in early. I stayed late and I still got fired. So, but people were telling me. And so all of a sudden now you don't put that much effort into what you do because now you don't trust yourself that you're going to make good judgment. So number one thing is to really sit down and figure out, at what point did I stop trusting myself? At what point did I stop trusting myself to be a good judge of character? So I've heard women, I've heard men say, I always get the wrong woman. I always get the wrong man. Every time I get in a relationship. At what point did you start making that decision and you put on that mindset that I always get it wrong? No matter what, I get it wrong. But what you can do to fix it is, number one, identify where you stop trusting yourself. Number two is start setting small goals that you set, not someone else, that you set, and you reach those goals on your own so that you can start building your trust in what you do and how you do. Say maybe you want to start a business. So trust yourself that the type of business you want to start, you make that decision. I'm not saying don't get counsel. Say, is this a good area? Reach out to some totally different people. I'm going to say that. Suggest that. Reach out to strangers. Sometimes strangers give you sound advice because they don't know you, and so they're a little bit more unbiased. Really learn from your mistakes. Sit down and write down, hey, I got off track right here. Why did I get off track right here? Because I made this mistake. How many times are you doing the same thing over and over, making the same mistakes? It's time to start learning from that mistake. Cassandra, I often tell the story of how I used to bounce checks. Because I refused to balance my checkbook. And because I was refusing to balance my checkbook, it wouldn't take time just to write that little, that little number. At that time, instant, you could check your bank account. That wasn't it. Nobody was putting alerts saying, hey, you got $20 left. They wasn't doing that. So I was using my debit card and I was writing checks, but I wasn't balancing. And so after about a few bounced checks, I was like, okay, this is crazy. You're
Mhm.
spending more money in fees than if you had just waited. And so I had to learn from my mistakes. And so that's what I'm saying. First figure out where you're making a mistake. That was a crazy mistake I was doing over and over, but I had developed a bad habit and I had
Mhm.
to learn from that. The other thing I would say, start speaking positive things to yourself. I don't care if you have to put up some positive affirmations on the wall and read them every day. You know, I am a good person. I am a smart person. I do look cute. I do look good. You know, put up some affirmations. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Put something up to encourage yourself. And again, speak words to yourself. If you feel like you're not smart, start saying, I am smart. And find the area where you think you're not smart. I remember my sister and I used to talk about not being felt like we weren't reading enough. You know, we weren't growing in certain areas. So we started reading the book. She said, well, I would just read, I pick up the newspaper and just start reading. And so I learned that I can't always be in a class sometimes, but a book, I could always read a book. I still work on me. I still work on my personal development. And what I do is I read books. I go listen to other speakers. I go listen to other coaches. I'm always trying to better myself. So always work on you, no matter what, work on you.
I agree with that. Those are awesome. Those things you find out where you went wrong, or where at point where you say, "Look, and I remember when it happened to me, I was like, okay, this is just too much. This particular area right here, this is just too much. I don't want to deal with the foolery that comes along with it. I don't want to deal with the challenges that comes along with it. So let me just settle for this right here feels comfortable. This right here feels
Yes.
good. But I was not operating at my fullest potential. Nowhere near who, I had totally gone from this person to someone, as Ira said earlier, I went backwards.
Yes.
I went backwards because after what happened, trying to move forward seemed to have been too much, and
Mm-hmm.
what I was going to have to go through in order to move forward, I was like, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be bothered. But you're better than that. Like my niece said, what is wrong?
And the other thing I
This
think
is not you.
that's not you is we're so worried about what other people think. You know, what's their expectations? Stop worrying about other people's expectations. What are your expectations? What are your requirements that you have of you? I think the number one thing, I'm like you. I know when I got married, the first thing I said is I don't want to be that crazy cliche where people's like, well, I just do everything my husband say, and no matter what, I do what he say, and it's just him and me and nobody else. I don't want my friends. I ain't gonna hang out with my friends. I ain't gonna do this. Everything we do it together. I was like, no, I don't do that. That don't even make sense to me. So I'm saying, make sure you, and that was one thing that I was saying, I'm not going to lose my identity. He needs to have his own life, and I need to have my own life, and then we have a life together. So he has friends. I'm like, he goes out and spend time with his friends. I go out and I spend time with my friends. That doesn't affect our household. You should have friends. I should have friends. We should be able to do things separate from each other. But if you listen to some couples, don't do nothing with anybody but you and your husband all the time. Just you and your husband, just you and your family all the time, just you and your family. And most of those people are miserable that are saying that, but they're saying that because they think it makes them look good. And so I would tell anyone, make sure you're doing what's comfortable for you and your spouse, and don't get stuck in what you think should be tradition. Don't get stuck in that. Do what makes the both of you happy, and that's it.
That's it. And the same thing applies to friends and family and
Yes.
people. Stop doing stuff to satisfy other people, your friends. Listen, if I share with someone that this is what I want to do, this is an idea that I have, or this is what I believe I'm supposed to do. I remember one time when I was living in Atlanta, I had a friend, and we were talking about the giftings that we have. And I wrote them down, and I have several gifts. And she said, what makes you think you can do all that? Okay, I made my mind right then. I won't be telling you nothing else. I, I,
Absolutely.
I won't tell
Absolutely.
you anything else because you can't see what I see. And if
Exactly.
you and if you have a negative, if you have a negative comment or if you're not trying to encourage me, then I might still talk to you, but when it comes to doing and moving, you can't be around me. You cannot be in my circle. And so many times we're afraid to let certain people go, or
Absolutely.
limit, set boundaries with certain people, because we want their approval. And
Absolutely.
we feel like we have to shrink back, because if I don't, well, they're not going to want to be around me anymore.
Mhm.
But if you start moving and doing what you're supposed to do, a lot of people going to fall off anyway.
Absolutely, you won't even have time. You won't even have time. I remember, as you were saying, when I decided to leave my job and start a company. Those women, but they weren't even friends. These was coworkers that were
Oh,
saying, "Okay, you crazy. You got this good job. Don't you leave this good job. You better stay here." And I realized I was talking too much. Like you got to learn to shut up. Don't
mhm,
share everything. And so I didn't even. Some of these women I passed in crossing, but the word had got out that I was leaving and I was starting my own business. And so they felt that if they saw me in the lunchroom, they would say something to me. "Oh, I heard you leaving and you starting your own. Do you even know how to run a company?" I'm like, okay, something wrong with y'all. Okay, but
mhm,
I'm gonna let y'all have that. But it was just so crazy how people that I didn't consider friends, that was coworkers, had an opinion. So people are gonna have an opinion that shouldn't even have an opinion. They're gonna have something to say that shouldn't have anything to say. That's why you got to consider your source and decide who your source is going to be. You can't be my source if you're not even where I'm trying to go to. You're not even
mhm,
on the way on the same trail that I'm on. So you can't be a source. So that's what I tell. Make sure you have a trusted source. If you're going to
mhm,
consider or you're going to take their opinion, make sure it's a trusted source. And a trusted source is, I trust you, I know you, or you on a level I'm trying to get to. You are a trusted
mhm,
source. If you and I
mhm,
are on the same level, we having the same struggle, if we're not friends, you're not a trusted source. You just
mhm.
someone that, I know, but I'm not trying to get information from you. I'm not trying to get guidance from you, because I've seen that too. I've seen people have Aunt Joe who's never had a business, Uncle Lou who's never had a business, saying, "I'll do it like this, I would do it like that." And I'm just sitting there watching them struggle over and over. And I was like, I told you what to do, but you don't do
Mhm.
it because Aunt Joe told you to do it. Something. When you and Aunt Joe finish, come back. Because you wasting a
Right.
whole lot of money talking to me and not doing what I'm telling you to do. But Uncle Joe giving you free advice, and somehow you using that advice. Is it working? So that's my question to people. The advice that you're getting, is it working? If
And
it's
it's
not
the same thing. It's the same thing when a young lady wants to be married or getting married, and then you getting advice for somebody that not married, getting bad advice. They telling you to do
working,
this and do that, bad advice. And you have to be careful who you have around you, who's speaking into you. And I like this what Iris said. She said, just reposition those people. Don't deal with them the way you used to be with them. I like that word, reposition them.
exactly. I put them in a different place on the shelf. You gotta.
Reposition those people. Those
Yes,
people cannot be your confidant. Those
exactly,
people cannot be your champions in your cheering corner, because
exactly,
they can't see. And this is one thing that you and I talk about all the time, as we're becoming and as we're growing into this person, because God shows us
absolutely.
way years before. We talked about when you were little, you knew you were going to be a businesswoman with your briefcase. You
Yes,
had this vision,
I
and
had
he
this whole
shows it
vision.
to us. And
Yes,
we grow into becoming this person. I'm not the same person I was this time last year. I
yeah,
wasn't the same person I was 5 years ago, last
absolutely,
year, 10 years ago. And so we're always supposed to be evolving and growing and developing, because and when you keep going up and up and up and becoming this person who he created you to be, uh just because people may be looking at you because they knew you when. Oh,
exactly.
I knew you when you were living in Moorhead, Mississippi, or when you were living in Oakland, Mississippi. You was that little, yeah, I was 20 years
Yeah,
old then.
yes,
I was
yes.
20. I'm more than 20 now. You're talking about 40
Just a little
years.
bit.
What
Yeah,
make you think I was going to stay the same? If
yes,
you stay the same, there's something wrong.
There is
If
something
we
wrong.
stay the same, there's something wrong. Iris says, she said, when I used to invite you over, now I'm just going to call you once a month.
I think, and you made an excellent point, Cassandra. The higher you go, I remember being at a level, people could call me, they could reach me. And then I remember getting at the level and I was like, okay, I can't answer all these calls. I had to get an office manager to take all my calls. So it's not necessarily all the time that I don't want to take all your calls. I don't even have that type of time anymore to take all your calls. I can't answer all of my emails. So, now we got, they look like bad problems, really a good problem. So the good problem is I am too busy to even be involved. So as you're growing, I don't even have time to call you to say, what do you think about this decision? What do you think about that? I don't have that type of time. I got to make a decision. As a CEO, you got to make a decision. And sometimes you got to make a decision fast. So the only person you can consult is Jesus. Give me an answer right now, because they want to answer right now. Should I get on this airplane in the morning or take the red-eye flight tonight? I don't know. So I don't have time to call Cassandra. If I'm texting like, pray girl, I'm getting on the plane. That's all I got time to text. Is pray, I'm getting on the plane. And that's it. So the higher you go, you absolutely right. My counsel becomes different. I may have a prayer partner that I work with or someone that's going to pray for me. Then those are the people I'm trying to contact and talk to. I can't take my neighbor calling, well, when you coming back? What time you gonna get? Girl, get off my phone. No. You ain't cutting checks. Get off my phone.
And people, and we have to be all right. We have to be all right to under this. I'm all right with people who don't understand.
Absolutely.
I had to be okay with you're not understanding. I had to be okay with you're not probably accepting
Exactly.
that this is who I am, because where you are in your thinking and where you are in your life may not be where I am.
Absolutely.
And so I'm okay. I understand, and I'm okay with you're not understanding.
Exactly. And that's a place of maturity that even we have to get to. So I really like that point, that even I had to get to the point where, man, I hate to call them and tell them no. And I think, Cassandra, one of the biggest issues I had was over promising and then holding myself obligated, because I said, yeah, I'll come, I'll ride with you, I'll go with you. And then I'm like, oh, I really don't even want to be bothered with you. And so I had to learn to say no. I mastered no. No, I don't want to go. No, I don't have time. But it took me to get past what I think and how you gonna feel about it. So not that I try to hurt people feeling, but now I just learned to say no. It's easy just to say no and speak the whole truth. Not try to, dance around it. Well, I would go, but I need to be back like 2. Can you get me back at 3? I just can't go. I just can't go. So I don't want to make both of us miserable. And I'm sitting on the side of the car seat and I got the cracked face because you taking too long. So the best thing for me to do is say no. And I think we got to get to the point where it's okay to put us first. We most of the time put ourselves on the back burner because we're trying to please everyone else. When we can master no and make ourselves priority, it changes how we do life. I'm living my best life now.
And then it gives a message or gives you a message or characterizes you as this person, definitely who you're not. Because I had to learn, like you said, no, I can't do this because I have something else to do. Because of who I am and what I'm called to do, I need to focus on this. But if I stop focusing on what I'm doing because of who I am and run around and do that, and then guess what? You'll talk about me.
Absolutely.
Cassandra don't never do what she says.
Thank you. She don't never come through. She don't ever come through. She promised this and she don't show up.
Right.
But they have no idea how hard you was trying to show up. All they know is Cassandra said she was gonna come and she didn't show up. So Cassandra, I don't even use the word maybe. If I know, it's either yes or no. Now those two things are black and white. It's either yes or it's no. Even down to when people are calling to say, "Hey, Bernadette, I'm low on cash. Can you help me out?" I don't need to hear the whole story. It's either yes or it's no, because I've seen people do that to people where they call you, well, what's going on? Well, why you need $50? You gonna drill a person for $50 and then not give it to them? Like, no, don't.
I'm telling you. So it's just, and it might make some people mad.
Yes.
It may make them talk about you. That's okay. That's okay. Shantae said, she said, that's right. That's right. What you're saying about, and we have to be comfortable in our own skin. We have to be comfortable in our own skin. You have to be comfortable with who you are. You have to be comfortable. Love who you are. Like who you are.
Love you. You got to
value yourself. Know that you are worthy to be respected.
Absolutely.
Know that you're worthy to be respected, that your thoughts and your opinions and your decisions are to be respected. I may not agree with it. I'm not going to lower my standards or lower my beliefs just to make you happy.
Absolutely.
Because then that compromises me. And I'm not in the business of compromising me anymore. No.
Know your identity. And again, Cassandra, when you know your identity, it makes you either love yourself, you like yourself, or you dislike yourself. If you dislike who you have become because you've been people pleasing, now fix it and go back to the person you originally was supposed to be. I remember, when I my college degree is chemistry and physics, and I got that degree because, again, being directed by someone else, it worked in my favor. It worked out. But like you said, I've known since I was 8 years old that I was going to be a business owner. I just didn't know the direction to go. So the direction from listening to other people took me in the direction of becoming a chemist and a physicist, and that's fine. And that worked in my favor. And it put a few dollars in my pocket. It was all right. But I'm saying, but that wasn't my life. That's not who I was born to be. I was born to be this CEO. This who I was born to be. But I had to go that route because I wasn't listening to who I was born to be originally. I was talking to people, and as I was talking to them, they were saying, "Oh, do this because your grades are good in chemistry. Oh, you should do this. You got good grades in physics." So I found myself going down that road. And Cassandra, get this. I didn't go down that road for a short time. I went down that road for a long time.
Yeah.
And then had to detour. So I say that to tell people, it doesn't matter. If you feel like, hey, I've been on the wrong track a long time, don't worry. You still got time to detour and turn around and get this thing right. If you breathing and you hear my voice, you got time.
That's right. Shantae said, right, don't give people your power. And that's that's exactly what you do. You give your power away when you let someone else tell you who you are, make decisions for you. You give your power away. Absolutely. And it's okay if you make mistakes. It's okay, especially if you're young. You've got to, hey, we're all on this path. You got to come into who you are. But the thing is knowing.
It's knowing.
And you may not know how to get there, but look, this is not it. And don't let nobody,
I've been on jobs and like, this not it.
This not it. This not it. This does not. I know where I'm supposed to go and I know who I am. This is not it. What you say, Ira said, wrong road with right turns.
I love it.
This has been a good discussion, but I want to close with this, Bernadette. You remember Gideon in the Bible.
Yes.
When God told him, he said, "You are a mighty man of valor." And he was like, "What? Me? I'm the least of my family. Me?" He couldn't see himself.
He couldn't see it.
He couldn't see it. And the thing about it, and we're going to close on this, sometimes other people can see who you are better than you can. And not only that, God he knows who you created. He created you to be.
Who you are.
He would send the right people to give you that nudge, or he would speak to him. But I just thought about that. Gideon said he was a mighty man of valor. Gideon was scared.
And just as you just said, But what built his confidence was when he went down, he was spying on the camp, and then he heard these two men say, "Oh, they're gonna destroy us." He's me. So he got his energy up there, he got his belief up there because he overheard someone else talking about him, saying,
Mhm.
"This is what he's gonna do, and they gonna win. We gonna lose."
And many times when people speak negative to you and shoot those fiery darts at you and you were trying to mess up your thinking, it's because they know who you are.
They know you are, and they're
They
scared.
know who you are, but they see that you don't know who you are, and they're
Exactly.
trying to
Yeah.
they're trying to make sure that you never discover that, because
And
if
don't
you ever
exceed them.
do,
And don't exceed them. And don't please don't exceed them. And this
Mhm.
is this is the thing, Cassandra. What is it that it's my friend? It's not a stranger, it's my friend.
Yes,
I don't care that you don't exceed nobody else. Just don't exceed me. Isn't that something?
yeah,
I've been there, I've done that. I got 2 T-shirts and souvenirs where it
has
is not enemies that's worried about me. It is people I call friends. Like, don't exceed me. Now I don't care who. It's like, wait, you guys will tell 50 other people about contracts, but you don't want to tell me. Oh,
hmm
why? Because you get all the contracts. I don't get all the. If I got all the contracts, I wouldn't be on here with
but
Cassandra
you
tonight.
know
I'd be like, girl, you gotta
that's not
cash me.
that, but you know that's not it, because that's not even true. You get all the
You
contracts.
get all the contracts.
Yeah, and sometimes it like you said, it's your friends.
Yes,
They will help a stranger. You can be doing the same thing. You can
exactly,
have a business, or you can be trying to get a job, or you can be trying to do so. It will be your friend that won't help you. But
exactly.
let us somebody that you thought that was not as close. They give them money. They do. They give them recommendations. They do referrals. They do all kinds of
Yes,
things.
yes.
Come to your won't come to your event,
Won't
but
come,
they'll go to somebody else's.
won't support, and
Won't
that
support.
and again, when you see this happening, it is nothing to get upset. It is
That's
nothing to
right.
freak out. It is not get, but pay attention. And when I say pay attention, I mean pay attention to the season that you're in. It is
Mhm.
not, I think someone else said early, it's knowing where to position this person at now or these
Yeah.
people at right now. Because now it's probably God trying to tell you, oh, this is the season I need you to be by yourself. This is the season
Mhm.
I need you to have 2 or 3 people around you. You no longer need 12 people. You no longer need 15 people. I need you to have a good, strong 2 or 3. And then you
Mhm.
guys go do what I need you to do. So pay attention to your season when that's happening to you. Sometimes it's not that your friend is being ugly. Maybe it's the hand of God trying to push you out the nest. So that's
Mhm.
how I see it. I don't see that my friends are being ugly or coworkers are being crazy. I see, okay, God, okay, I see you taking me out of my comfort zone again. Where should I be going to? Where should I be
Mhm.
headed to? So now I need to get somewhere and be quiet and be settled and start writing again. Like, okay, because clearly I'm headed in a different direction.
That's right. And clearly, I'm who I'm supposed to be. You're taking me there. And
Absolutely.
these people don't fit with
Exactly.
who I am. These people don't fit with who I am. And like you say, don't get mad about it. I
Don't get mad.
remember Cheryl Underwood talking about when she heard these other women who
Yes,
were going to be talking about her. She said she didn't get mad. She wrote down what they said she needed to work on, and she worked on those things. And look where
exactly.
God took her. Look
What?
where God took. But you know that was God.
That was God to let her overhear,
Mhm.
and this is the thing. I'm glad you said that. He only let us hear what we're ready and what we are mature enough to handle. She was mature enough to handle. If she had heard that probably 10 years ago, she'd have cut
Yes,
everybody out. But she was at the right place at the right time, and now she's mature enough to handle it. So when we're talking about your identity, as we said, we're getting to the end of this. This is what you need. You need to be mature enough to walk into your identity. You shouldn't be at 40, 50, 60, 75, still trying to figure out who you are. You're always going to be growing. But by this time, you need to know exactly who you are and stand on that.
that's right. And what I love about that, was it probably what she needed to do to become this person.
Exactly.
The information probably didn't come the way that she wanted, but
Exactly.
had she not been mature enough, she wouldn't have been able to perceive this is what I need. Although I don't like the way that
I
it
don't like it.
came, but this is the key. This is
Exactly.
what I needed in order to get to where I need to be.
Absolutely.
And it was, that took a lot of maturity. That took a lot of
Absolutely.
maturity. Ira said, it's the one that's sit at the table with you. Ask Jesus about Judas. Rosa said, thank God for true friends in my circle. And I have learned how to keep it moving when folks don't support and maybe give them some grace. Shantae said, everyone can't go with you. And I like what something, keep it moving. What
Keep it
Rose,
moving.
keep it moving, people.
Yes. Absolutely.
Keep it
Absolutely.
moving. How do you overcome the naysayers? How do you overcome those that who said, I don't want to support you, I don't believe that you can do this,
Let
I don't
them
believe?
watch.
Keep it moving.
Keep it
Go do
moving.
it anyway. Go be that person anyway. Keep it
Absolutely.
moving. I
Keep it
think
moving.
Jamie said eagles can't hang with chickens. That's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This has been a good discussion. We can keep going on and on and on, but this is so good. But we gonna let you have a closing comment, transformation coach. Just give them something that they can chew on, the rest of the weekend.
Okay, so what I would say is number one, truly identify who you are. If you listening to this at any point in your life, maybe this is God saying it's time to truly identify who you are. Do it today.
That's exactly right, because that's the core of who you are. And without knowing who you are, that's the core of your life. You can't get to where you want to be. You can't become fulfilled. So I pray that you receive what has been said tonight, because I really believe some things, even those in the comments, those who are watching, have spoken and said some things that can help you move forward. If you're stuck, listen to what the transformation coach said. And I believe if you just take those 3 points that she made earlier, if identify where you became stuck.
Yes.
Identify when you identify that awareness is the key to help it, so that you can begin to move forward. So we thank you all, everybody that was watching tonight. You were so engaged, and I love our audience tonight.
Yes.
And I thank you, Bernadette, because you have shared some great points, some great things. Bernadette, give your number. Bernadette has a coaching business that's called Effective Transformation. She does business coaching, life coaching, and she does some other things too. But what's your phone number? And I'm going to put it in the chat in case someone may want to call you. And you did say that you offer like a 30-minute free consultation and an assessment.
Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my email address. So
okay, email. Okay.
Yes, and that's going to be the best way to contact me. Just use my email address.
Okay,
and
I'm going to
we'll respond through email, and I'll give them directly my phone number from there.
All right. Okay. Ira said, I'm gonna put this, go and be great. Yes,
I love
Ira.
it.
I love it. We're gonna end on that note. Go and be
great.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.